doing, guys? You like the new setup? I had to switch it up a little bit, you know. I just felt like, yeah, I need to style out in these videos if I want to get the content going. But today's topic will be one that was requested in the comment section. So if you leave a comment, hey, if it's something that I know that will benefit you, I'll go do a video on it. So just, you know, keep on telling your buddies that, hey, if you want to learn more about being a submarine yeoman, I got you. Just ask the questions in a way that I'll understand them, and obviously I'll make a video. So the question was, what is it like leaving basic enlisted submarine school, aka BESS, and then going to your first submarine? What are the do's and do nots? Well, there's a lot of those, and it's heavily debated in a lot of people's perspectives that have done this job, because I'm just gonna say there's 3 classes of submarines: fast attacks, which is the only one I've done, there's the ballistic missile, and there's also the guided missile. So I can't really speak for the ballistic missile culture or the guided missile culture. I can only speak for fast attack, which make up the majority of the submarine force submarines. But I'm going to talk about fast attack culture. And I know that some of you are not on that platform, but if you are on a different platform as submarine, if you want to add more value and just leave, you know, some comments describing it, I would greatly appreciate it, what it's like to be a yeoman on board a ballistic missile or guided missile submarine. But let's get to it. So when you leave basic enlisted submarine school, you have your orders in hand, they stamped them, they say, hey, you're gonna go on leave, and then you're gonna check on board to your first submarine. And be like, okay, can't wait for that. So you're gonna end up in some part of the country. You may end up on the East Coast, you may end up on the West Coast, the best coast. But yeah, I've done San Diego before, so, and that's why I say it's the best coast. But when it comes to showing up that first day, all eyes are on board you. When you check in, the first thing that you're gonna have to do is obviously walk across the brow, which is essentially the what do you call those things? A brow is like basically a path that takes you back and forth from the submarine to the pier. You're gonna walk across it, you're gonna salute the flag, you're gonna go down onto the boat, and the first thing they're gonna notice is, well, let's see what this person's about. And you're gonna get tested when you first check in. You know, I got tested, you know, they asked me where I was from, they asked me, hey, can you handle the submarine force? What are you about? You know, and that was intimidated to me because I was an 18-year-old, this is my first real job, because I didn't have a job before the Navy, so I had no life experience except the submarine that I was gonna be on. So it was very intimidating. I would say if you're an 18-year-old or a 20-year-old or a 25-year-old, I would say once you get past 25, you've kind of, you know, lived life before the Navy, so you kind of can treat it like it was an average job for some people. But it's very intimidating to a lot of young people who go on board, and you have like a crew, which the majority of them are either chief petty officers or, you know, petty officers, and you're probably going to show up as seaman. It's going to feel a little intimidating because you came from boot camp not even a year ago, so you're kind of going to be in your shell. But it's okay, that's normal. When you start like meeting the command triad, which makes up the captain, the executive officer, and the chief of the boat, aka the cob, they're gonna be the first people to greet you, and they're the most senior people on board that submarine. So meeting them will kind of, you know, get your nervousness a little down, because now you've met, you know, the most senior people on board that submarine, and I would say 9 times out of 10 they're nice. They're not bad people. So don't be intimidated when you meet them. You're gonna be immediately put into what's called the INDOC program, indoctrination, which means that for the first 2 weeks, all you're gonna be doing is getting checked into every program on board the submarine, from medical department to engineering department to your own department, administrative department. There's so many departments you have to check in those first 2 weeks. Then when you're done, it's all game. When you're done with that first initial indoctrination program, you're gonna get handed a qualification card. You're gonna be expected to, you know, start standing watch at some point, which they're gonna immediately say, hey, I want you to qualify an import watch station. An import, which would mean, you know, you have a 9mm handgun on you or an M16 and you're walking back and forth protecting that submarine. It's a 24-hour duty, so you will be expected to qualify that really quick. They'll also hand you a qualification card for an at-sea watch station. And I would say that there's only 2 primary watch stations yeomen ever qualify, and that is either sticks, which is helms and planes, driving the submarine, or sonar. And you can qualify different sonar watches for at sea. Now, when you work on those qualification cards, you also have to work on the most important qualification card that will get you one of these. It's gold for officers and silver for an enlisted. As you can see, I have the World War II cuffs right here because the enlisted submariner didn't always wear silver dolphins on their chest. That actually didn't change until 1947. So, the qualification card is for your submarine dolphins. That will be the 3rd qualification card that is the most crucial to you becoming a part of the family on board the submarine, becoming a part of the culture. So, you're gonna essentially work on these 3 qualification cards while also trying to do the submarine yeoman job, which, if you're an 18-year-old, I'm gonna say you're gonna have a harder time, an extremely hard time, because I did, trying to learn your job and trying to do all of those qualification cards when you first check on board. Because, you know, if you're not working on qualifications, then you're doing administration. If you're not doing administration, then you're standing watch. And if you're not standing watch, then you're literally studying for another qualification to qualify. Because when you're a non-qual on board, you're expected to always have your notes on you at all time, or a manual, and you're studying. Once you get your submarine dolphins, life gets a lot easier because you no longer have to worry about studying constantly, trying to balance doing administration as the submarine yeoman and trying to, you know, stand watches. It also will oh, I'm stuttering, I'm sorry. It will also be beneficial for your education when it comes to learning while you're qualifying from how the leading yeoman qualified. So the first thing I would do I'd be asking your leading yeoman, which is your leader in the ship's office, how did they qualify? You know, personally for me, it took me over a year to qualify. I was in a submarine that wasn't even in the water. It was in shipyard. It was all torn apart. So I had a harder time qualifying. And my first chief, which YNC, was the greatest guy like I've probably met in the Navy so far. Like, he was a really, really, really awesome guy. And Yeah, you do meet a lot of great people. And I would say that if you have a really great leader, it makes the job so much better. Now, there's a few bad apples out there. A few bad apples. Ooh, and I've met them too. They will make you not want to come to work sometimes, I promise you. But you never know what you're gonna get. It's all a roll of the dice when you go to your first submarine. You can't choose the people you work with. You're all handed a blank slate and hope that you get the people that help you thrive. So, when you are doing administration and working on the qualification process, obviously it's going to be stressful. But, let me put it this way. When you get to know certain people on board and you make these close friendships, you can definitely help yourself to getting the qualifications you need quicker. Because yeoman, I hate to say it, we do not need to know most of the qualification card that they give us, only because it has to do with like engineering that we will never ever touch. A lot of the qualification card has to do with a lot about how the mechanical systems work on board the submarine, and you will never ever do maintenance on board a submarine as a submarine yeoman. I've never seen it happen. So with that being said, they're not going to give you as much of a hard time qualifying the qual card as they will, you know, the mechanics on board the submarine or the electronics technicians on board the submarines, because that's their actual jobs, to work on those systems. Our systems are basically computer, printer, scanner. That's the basics, right? So we don't do maintenance on that either. The next thing I would say that is probably one that most people don't really think about, but when you leave basic enlisted submarine school, you really have to think, why? That is something I wish I really thought about, because it'll make it so much easier for you to check on board and just have a more positive attitude. Because I would say that a bad attitude will hurt you the most. It will hurt you the most. If you're already at a point where you may not, you know, be having those thoughts that anything's gonna go right when you're on board, then it probably isn't. I would say that having a bad attitude can definitely affect not only how the crew sees you, but how you spend your time on board. It'll definitely affect you. And you're a submarine yeoman. Your job is customer service. So if your why is very dark and very, I would say, not authentic to what you want to do on board the submarine, then it will affect your work. It will. It just will. And that's the last thing I want to say, is that when you leave, think about why you chose to do this. Why you chose to do this. It will be the one thing that will help your mind just be at ease. But once again, tell all your friends I'm putting more content out. I might get a merch soon. Let me get the merch. What kind of merch can I make? Actually, I have no idea. I might get stickers, who knows. But I'm coming up with more content and more videos. Just tell me what you want. I'm all here. All right, you guys have a fine warrior day.